Are you aware of what Joey McGuire is doing in Lubbock? This is one of the best transfer portal classes in the country. And Texas Tech, who was one of a select handful of teams whose record I predicted right on the money coming into this year at 8-4, they were a good team. They're not going to have Behren Morton in their bowl game. And you know what? Texas Tech fans are probably okay with that. Saying, 8-win season, we're good right now. But how do you get that breakthrough? How do you take what has historically been a program that does well but never great, that can struggle but rarely bottoms out? How do you take that and elevate it? Well, I bring you the transfer portal. So here are a few of the names that stand out the most to me for Texas Tech, because this is not a class that is just built right now on sheer volume. They might not wind up having the number one class by the time the portal completely comes to a close, but you have players that are going to play football in Lubbock, Texas primarily next year, in the good old Big 12 conference, and they are going to be wildly successful because they've already been successful in their college careers. Now they're just going to go sometimes to what people could, not saying I would, dub to be a lower level of competition in the Big 12. That's how college football views it, of course. So let's start with my my personal favorite in this particular bunch, Romello Height. This is a great poll. This is a guy who's been around college football for a couple of years. Georgia Tech's defense this year just lost maybe its most impactful player. Romello Height, remember all the way back when Florida State was top 10? Good times. I'm going to talk about them later on today's show anyway, though. Romello Height is a guy that coming off the edge, difference maker, game changer, just makes a lot of impact plays. I love that addition coming over from the Yellow Jackets. So we'll start with him. Not ending there, though. Quentin Joyner is a running back that couldn't ever find his footing at USC because no one is able to find their footing at USC. And strangely enough, all the offensive players are leaving. I get the defensive thing with the new staff coming in on that side of the ball. But man, the number of talented offensive players, Deuce Robinson's at Florida State, Zachariah Branch is no longer with the Trojans. And here's Quentin Joyner coming in. Look, maybe there are other running backs that are serviceable in Texas Tech's locker room that can do a good job, but guy's not short on talent. Guy's not short on potential. He's just short on the production that he's fully capable of. So keep an eye on that one there. Bryce Pollock, that's another name. That was probably Mississippi State's best corner this year. Pro Football Focus thought so. Gave him a grade just a tick under 75. That's not an easy thing to accomplish, by the way, when you're playing on a team that struggles as much as Mississippi State did this year. It was rough. I think it can get better and will get better for Jeff Lebby. They showed some real signs of growth this year. They don't have Michael Van Buren there at quarterback anymore. Also going to talk about him later on today's show. How about that? All sorts of connections on today's pod. But he had over 700 snaps defensively. He was durable, and he was real darn good. So there are a couple of guys defensively for a defense that struggled in some key moments this year. Those are impact guys out of the ACC and SEC, respectively. Then you go to the offensive side of the ball. You've got Behren Morton back at quarterback. That's great. Morton had a great season, 3,300 yards, 27 touchdowns, 8 picks. You replicate that, you're going to be just fine. Joey McGuire and company, they will absolutely take that again. But you have to replace Josh Kelly, who came in from Washington State, and that was an under-the-radar addition across the Big 12 because I talked about him because I'd seen him play up at Washington State, went, this guy's really good. Boom, what do you know? Of the 3,300 yards that Behren Morton threw for this season, about a third of them were to Josh Kelly. So that's a lot to replace. So what do? Go grab a 4-star transfer. Reggie Virgil was at Miami of Ohio that made it to the conference championship game in the MAC this year. They got throttled by Ohio, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And he had 816 yards through the air. So you get a guy with proven production. You're not taking a chance. Micah Hudson transfers out of that wide receiver room. And to the untrained eye, that seems like a loss because he could have stepped forward. He could have. All those things are possible on the one hand, and on the other hand, sometimes this is the right move to say, you know what, we don't feel like he's going to fit. You go to Texas A&M, wish you all the best. We want a guy who we know can come in and produce, and Reggie Virgil may very well be that guy. Then, did you think they were done defensively? Nope, they're not. And by the way, these are just the headliners from my vantage point. There are 16 transfers as I record this show coming to Texas Tech right now. It's impressive. It's impressive. Lee Hunter, one-time Auburn transfer who's been a 3-year player with UCF. Pro Football Focus likes him. This is a guy that can come in and just be, at the very least, a steadying presence on the defensive line. So the question then becomes, can they ascend to the top of the Big 12 Conference? Well, you're not going to be able to sit here and say they aren't trying, because they absolutely are. And in the Big 12, this is true in the ACC, and heck, we even saw it in the Big 10 with Indiana. You can go from the bottom to the top really quickly. Arizona State, great example. Indiana, great example. Duke, by the way, felt like they weren't going to be anything, went 9-3 this year. So SMU, people had questions, conference championship game, and got into the college football playoff. It didn't go well, but they still got there, and a lot of people didn't. So when I look at what Texas Tech was a year ago, what they're bringing back, what they're bringing in, tell me why they can't. As long as the coaching is up to the standard necessary to reach that level, look at the Big 12 landscape and tell me that Texas Tech can't be a Big 12 championship team, and then explain why. I don't know what your explanation is. You let me know in the comments below, or shoot me a note on Twitter at smclaughlincfb. But when I look at what Texas Tech was this year and how they're attacking their needs on the defensive side of the ball, with a quarterback returning who's going to be in the same system for the 3rd year now, he's not likely to get worse. This isn't Noah Fafita at Arizona, where it's a different staff coming in and suddenly you have this massive regression. No, he should at least be as good as he was this year, which was quietly one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12. So you asked me, well, not hypothetically, of course, if you were to ask me, could Texas Tech win the Big 12? Yes, they can. They absolutely can. Now, there's always that cloud hanging over the program of, boy, are they going to break through? Can they do it? Can they really get to that top? Well, at the very least, Texas Tech fans, you can't fault them for not trying. You can't say they didn't make a swing at it. This is making a swing at it. This is going out, raising NIL dollars. This is going out, making a commitment to adapting to the modern world of college football, saying we have a strong core. We like these guys here and there, but we believe we can get even better, and they're going out and doing that. So I applaud them. I applaud Joey McGuire and that staff for attacking the transfer portal here and recognizing the opportunity they have. This is a gettable conference. There are going to be a lot of good teams. There will not be a dominant team. It was anybody's game this year. I get the sense it'll be that way next year, and Texas Tech will absolutely be in the fold with this level of talent.